My name is Diego. I was born in Venezuela and I lived there until 2006. After that, I moved to actually Spain, but the south of Spain, where I lived for 2.5 years. After that, I moved to Switzerland, where I lived for 4 years. And then after that, I moved to Saudi Arabia for 2 years, where I completed my high school studies. And then I moved to the US for my undergrad, which I completed at the Pennsylvania State University in industrial engineering. Following my graduation in May of 2018, I was kind of at a crossroads of kind of what I wanted to do with my career and my life. So I was obviously applying for jobs in the US, which is especially tough being an international student. I am a Venezuelan and Italian nationalities. And then by some degree of, I guess, chance or luck, my mom sent me a picture of the EAE Business School. I think it's the main campus that has the big red flag outside. And she was like, I know it's been I know you're considering whether you continue to study or you go into a more professional setting. And I found this, look into it. And then pretty much my first experience with AIA was talking to one of the main outreach advisors. At this point in time, I had no idea what I wanted to do with my career, or if I wanted to master's, even what to do it in. And this person was, very super approachable, very understanding of my situation, and kind of listened to what I wanted to do and where I saw myself going down the line. For me, a priority was to kind of look for the right professional setting, given that, yes, I studied engineering, but I never saw myself in this hyper technical setting, but rather a more human and diverse setting. So basically, after all these conversations that we had over the phone, and I was still in the US at this point, she suggested that I do a Master's of International Business at AIA in the Madrid campus, given that my mom is actually living there. So my family home is there, making it all easier, of course. After that, pretty much I made the decision to do this master's for multiple reasons. The first one being that unlike my college experience, my undergrad, the way it was presented to me and the way it ultimately ended up being was that it was a very international, very diverse, very open setting, which was complete contrast to studying where I studied in the US. And then a huge plus for me was this focus in finding the right opportunity after AIA, and this kind of, for lack of a better word, assurance that there would be guidance for our next professional steps. And for someone like me that wasn't sure what I wanted to do, that was absolutely vital in my decision making, as well as in me being ultimately very satisfied and very happy with the program and what came after. There's multiple aspects that come into that. I think a big part of this for me at EAE was that I had little to no professional experience, and I came into a classroom where, yes, there weren't I think the way my sections were drawn up were age kind of, so there wouldn't be this huge disparity, but there were still people that already had first and seconds and third meaningful experiences in a professional setting. And given that these classrooms were kind of small, it felt personal, and then you develop these relationships with these people that allow you to go into a very detailed aspect of tell me more about your profession, tell me more about what you've been doing and what you want to do. And then kind of, for me, that's a difference in a master's, whereas in the undergrad we're all kind of in the same pool, in the same kind of, let's all try to graduate and get it over with. There's this drive in the master's, and there's this drive in the people that allows you to understand where they're coming from and what they want to do, and then that ultimately helps you understanding what you want to do as a professional. I would also say that the way in which professors at the masters like interact with you is very different to what I experienced as an undergrad. Obviously, a lot more approachability, a lot more transparency, and having professors that not only were experienced in teaching but also very experienced in the industry also helps you kind of narrow down what you want to do. Like for me it was more of an issue. Okay, like I need to narrow down my area of interest, and then like specifically within the MIB, the Master of International Business, like there's already such a wide selection of subjects, and having professors that are equipped to answer your questions for each of these subjects, not only in an academic setting but in a professional setting, helps you kind of narrow down into this is a good idea of where I want to go next. And for me, that was like the main aspect that varied. I also think, you know, a lot of people from my master's had this passion or this drive for international business from the get-go. So like this is where they wanted to go, and this is where they always saw themselves going. So obviously there's a big difference in, for example, coming from a broader administration bachelor's, where perhaps there are subjects that you don't enjoy as much as to studying something that you're completely involved in because it's genuinely like it genuinely interests you and you genuinely see yourself like in that area. In my section, I think we were a couple of engineers, and then there were lawyers. There were people that studied business administration. There were a couple that had already done finance. And I think a couple of people that also did human resources, but they wanted to go into something else. I think the benefits of first, the broad selection of people coming into the master's, as well as the broad selection of subjects exposed in the master's, is that yes, it is quite wide, but the way the courses are structured and, you know, they're fast paced and all of this kind of, it all comes together in the sense that it all goes fast. You learn like about these subjects, not only in a superficial level, but you go in depth enough to realize, okay, like this is something I enjoy. This is something I can see myself doing. And I think that's the main benefit of the broad selection, or rather like this perceived notion that it's so general that you don't go deep enough. So I think there's some misconceptions there in the sense that especially for young professionals, it's important to have like all these broad selections on the table. I think all the more important after what we've experienced, with COVID, like things can change very, very quickly. I was lucky enough to graduate before COVID hit, but I can only imagine that developing a wider range of adding this wider range of subjects to your tool set and having a clear understanding of these subjects can only help in the case that you want to, career change, or if you want to like further develop into one of these subjects. And I think also a way that I think EAE, the Masters specifically of International Business is structured really helps you is first the liberties that they give you to explore your thesis subjects, as well as the liberty that you are given to do your minor in. So I really, really enjoyed my minor towards the end of my master's, and I did it in project management. And the idea to do my minor, and actually I think that was the case for most people in my section, is that like we are exposed to all of these subjects, and then comes down to which one did I enjoy the most, or which one do I think will be the most useful. And I think that is vital. I think for me, I did it in project management, and I was absolutely enamored by the subject when it was first exposed in class, and then to have the opportunity to go even further in depth into that was fantastic. And then as well as my thesis was essentially focusing on microfinance as a means of promoting socioeconomic integration of refugees in Germany. And then basically this was quite, it was quite funny, for lack of a better word, to interact with. So my group was composed of one lawyer, someone that came from like a more like business administration background, and then me, like an industrial engineer. So it was hard enough to already have a common ground to like understand what we wanted to do with this project, and also to compromise in terms of what the range and scope of this project was going to be. But at the end of the day, this broad selection is what allowed us to understand, where this person is coming from in terms of law, where this person is coming in terms of business administration, and where the other person is coming from in terms of perhaps a more technical or less, I guess, more in the background expertise kind of worries or development. I would again refer back to my project management classes. I think that the tool set is essential not only to the job I'm performing today as a supply planning coordinator, in which, so basically I have to always apply this kind of notion, even if I'm not doing project management in itself within my role. The notions and the ideas that are already in my head from this course, I don't know why, but as you say, sometimes it's a random thought or a surprising element that sticks around in your brain. This knowledge is obviously something that I see as a potential to build upon, or something that I can apply in my job. If everything develops correctly, then perhaps I see roads for development, or perhaps more applications for project management. And yeah, there's a couple of courses like that at EAE. I'm naturally a very historically, studying history is my hobby. So obviously I was very, very, I'd say happy or pleased with any econ classes or any more humanities side classes that kind of delve more into the studies of the human side of things, or any sort of history. And even if I don't necessarily apply that in a professional setting, that is something that has stuck around with me, especially the opportunity after my undergrad. As you say, it's hard for me to remember anything I did in my first 2 years of undergrad, or even the third one, because it was also broad and general, and I didn't really see a point to it. Whereas in the master's, I really did see a point or an application for anything that I was learning. From the get-go, I always felt very supported by EAE, specifically the department of in charge of this next step, because the internship is part of the program, and I feel like a lot of people don't really understand that. So this department is there to guide you. The career department is there to help you. And then I didn't do anything extraordinary to get my internship. I followed their guidelines, and they're very open. You have to I think I created one CV that matched kind of their general template. And then I had a couple meetings where I discussed my interests and what I wanted to do after the master's. And once it was perfectly clear that what I wanted to do, then I was presented with certain options. And I know in the case of other students in my section as well, this was also the case. And, you're given the ability, even if perhaps there isn't an option on the table, from the get-go. I was lucky enough to have a very good contact with my career advisor that had a contact already at IBM. So it all kind of matched at the right time for me as I was finishing my master's. But I know other people that didn't work perhaps directly with careers, but careers kind of steered them towards the right contact, or found the right person to talk to, so they could, get that internship that they really wanted to get, or at least get their foot in the door somewhere. And, the possibilities are pretty much endless, as long as you kind of are doing your part. If I just really from that and that sense, it was never a worry to me, because I always felt kind of taken care of, or rather if I did things the way that I was being instructed, or if I listened to what the advice that they were given, then I would be okay. And that turned out to be the case. In my case, I interned at IBM initially for 6 months, after which that was extended. And I was there for, let me think, almost 9 months in the end. And I was offered a permanent position within accounts receivable at IBM. And their team was awesome. It was very diverse, and there were always very interesting things happening here and there. because it's such a ever-changing job, right? Like, so like there's never this a dull moment or a dull day. There's always like things that you have to factor in, and kind of there's always departments that you have to reach out to and inquiries that you have to make. And yeah, like it's just at that point after college and after, you know, the master's and that first internship, I had that opportunity. I explored it, and then another opportunity came up for me immediately after that for a permanent position elsewhere. So at that point, I had these two permanent positions that I had to choose from, and I ended up choosing another one away from IBM. And yeah, I don't know what else I can say in that sense, but it was a very, very good experience, like where I could apply perhaps not like all the knowledge I like learned in the master's, because as you say, there's a very broad topics to pick from, a broad selection of topics to select from. But there are things that for that first experience definitely helped. And there are things that I know, for example, that this job would have been very hard to come by if I had not had the right, you know, connections or the right guidance. For me, a lot of the knowledge acquired from not only the career advice sessions that were like one-on-one, but also like the career services hosted like workshops in which you were kind of like suggested things to include in your cover letter, things to include in your CV. That was very much helpful, as I spent most of 2020 unemployed as a result of the pandemic. And you know, it can be very frustrating to apply, and then I spent a lot of months looking for the right opportunity. After which I came across this job that I'm extremely happy and satisfied by at Unrunning. And obviously, going into this job and going into the application process, a lot of the things, like, for example, the application that I did for this job, I think, yeah, my CV template was the one that was instructed to kind of like build up, and the one I went through with my career services advisor, like it was still very much the same. My cover letter was structured the way that like I had learned from whatever workshop we were involved in. The way I developed the case study, very much so for my interview, was very, very closely related, I would say, not only to the way I was kind of led to think by subjects that kind of pertain to the subject of supply chain. So if we think a little more about the Excel side of things, but also the presentation side of things, I also think the Master of International Business is very, very strong in that sense, in the sense that it gives you the opportunity to learn to present the subject. Not only that, but also present yourself. So if you can successfully present the subject and yourself, I think that's the major key in obtaining a job. That's not only your first experience, but what comes after. I think that is an opportunity that you don't come by easily, especially with qualified peers that, you know, these people have been listening to presentations from other professionals before. And when you get feedback from them, it feels valuable. And then that feedback from peers and then professors that are also in the industry feeds into your narrative, not only for what you want to do, but also how you want to do it. And then here, that's, you know, knowledge that I apply not only on a daily basis in the sense of how I can conduct myself or present myself in meetings or present whatever project I am working on. But there's also, you know, aspects that pertain to like the work ethic and kind of applying job, like these structures that I learned from EAE and trying to create, come to conclusions in a project that are valuable to everyone involved and they're understandable by all parties. Because I feel like definitely for me coming into the master's, I was able to do a lot of things, but I wasn't able to perhaps communicate them as well as I wanted to. But coming out, I felt very confident in the way that, you know, I can synthesize this information given all these different tools that I've learned now. And then now that it's synthesized, I also have the capacity to present it. And then when you present that with confidence, you know, there's no better mixture than that. obviously my first impression was curiosity, and obviously I think in Madrid, it's not common to see the side of a building covered in like a big red flag. So I was like, what is this? And then the way that's changed is that now I feel a lot of pride in seeing, EAE so big and red, and it's just there, attention seeking in the middle of one of the busiest streets in Madrid. So to me, that's pride. And then the way I see, the alumni interacting, the way I see kind of like all the LinkedIn posts or whatever posts on Facebook, and when I see it, climbing up in the rankings, it's a completely different emotion, because I'm like, yes, I studied there. Like I studied at the school that perhaps, like at the beginning I had no idea exactly where it was or what I would do, but then now I know it's something that I feel proud to belong to. Not only during my time as a student, but also now as an alumni. Even after graduating, our master coordinator would ask that some of us would come and meet the new cohorts of students. And that's something I really enjoyed up until, of course, COVID hit and made it impossible to do in person. But it was a wonderful experience. And, you also make all these connections with new people coming into EAE, and you can see kind of their ambition or what they're looking for. And you can, satisfy the curiosity in terms of what they can expect. And that also helps kind of build that sense of confidence in not only the institution, but also the pride that you feel being part of it.